Now the disinfo is out, people are wondering if Cassie gave us a one-sided story just to make Diddy look bad, or if the truth is that both of them were in a messy, toxic situation. But we've got all the details. Let's explain everything.
The video in question, in May 2024, CNN shared a video from 2016 that showed Diddy going off on Cassie in a hotel hallway. The clip, which hit social media on May 17, 2024, showed some upsetting stuff that happened at the Intercontinental Hotel in Century City, Los Angeles.
You can see Diddy wearing only a towel, grabbing Cassie, pushing her, dragging her, and even kicking her while she's trying to get away with a duffel bag. Once that video came out, things moved fast. Diddy went on Instagram the same day and posted a video saying, "What I did in that video can't be excused." He said he takes full blame for what he did in the video.
He admitted he was disgusted by what he did, both back then and now. He said he went to get professional help, he started therapy, and went to rehab. This public apology came after many years of rumors and after Cassie filed a lawsuit in November 2023, revealing details of years of physical abuse. People found it suspicious that her case was settled just one day after it was filed, making people in the industry and beyond raise questions.
Disclaimer: the content on this channel may contain gossip-based information, rumors, or exaggerated portrayals of reality. Please exercise your own discretion while watching, and remember that not all information presented may be factual or verified. Cassie finally spoke out after the video was released. On May 23, 2024, she posted on Instagram to thank her supporters and talk about how domestic violence affected her. She said she was very thankful to those who gave her younger self a safe space, where she felt protected by light instead of trapped in darkness. In her post, Cassie made it clear that domestic violence was the real issue. She said it broke her, but also said, "I'm better now. But I will always be healing from what happened before." She told people to believe victims the first time because it takes a lot of bravery to speak up when you feel powerless. Now, about these new claims that Cassie hit Diddy too. Most of those come from Chopper, a former artist signed to Bad Boy Records. His real name is Kevin Barnes, also called Young City.
He was part of the band Da Band from the NTV show Making the Band 2. In a January 2025 interview, Chopper said that both Diddy and Cassie were abusive toward each other, meaning Cassie was also violent with Diddy. This goes against what Cassie has said publicly, especially about that 2016 hotel moment that was caught on camera. Looking deeper into it, Chopper's words came from a YouTube video called Chopper Reveals He Saw Diddy Take Cassie from Ryan Leslie and says Diddy and Cassie abuse went both ways, uploaded on January 11th, 2025. The title makes it seem like Chopper was saying both of them were violent to each other. In another YouTube video titled Bad Boy Artist Chopper says Cassie B3 add up Diddy 2, worked with liquor company to take Diddy down. Chopper added even more to the claims. In that video, he said their relationship had serious problems. He said, "I thought it was toxic. A very toxic relationship."
No matter how things sound, what you say and do can be used against you, especially if you're a celebrity. When someone asked if he actually saw any fights between them, Chopper said, "Did you ever see them ever get into any altercations ever?" And he replied, "Yes, a lot." He said he could tell that she triggered him a lot. But the most surprising part of what Chopper said was that he saw both of them physically fight each other. He said, "You're in a toxic relationship. Y'all beat each other up. I saw her beat him up." Just like that. He also said, "I don't know how to explain it. I felt like I was in the middle watching two people beat each other up." And that the only thing people cared about was what Diddy did. But here's the thing. Chopper doesn't have any solid proof to back up what he's saying. And his claims are very different from the clear evidence we have showing what Diddy did to Cassie.
That 2016 hotel video is real proof of Diddy being violent. So far, there's no proof showing that Cassie physically attacked Diddy. That's a huge difference when you're trying to figure out who's telling the full truth. Cassie's story has video evidence and legal files to back it up. But Chopper's story is just based on what he says, with no other witnesses or physical proof. All this drama is happening while Diddy's facing a ton of legal problems. He's been hit with more than 63 civil lawsuits. These claims include all kinds of serious stuff like assaults, trafficking, drugging people, and abuse. Over 100 people are involved in these lawsuits, with some stories going all the way back to 1991. In addition, Diddy got indicted in September 2024 on federal charges like racketeering, conspiracy, trafficking, and moving people across states for prostitution.
Diddy says he's not guilty and is locked up in Brooklyn while his trial is happening in May 2025. These charges and legal fights are super serious. It's not just about Diddy and the people in the lawsuits. It's got the whole entertainment world talking about power, accountability, and getting justice. As of May 14th, 2025, Diddy's trial is still going on. There's been witness testimonies, including from Cassie Ventura, who shared detailed stories about what happened in their relationship. The trial and Cassie's testimony. The charges against Diddy are no joke. If he's found guilty, he could spend the rest of his life in prison. His lawyers are fighting hard, denying everything, and saying Diddy's swinger lifestyle doesn't mean he broke the law. They even filed papers trying to throw out parts of the case, saying he's being targeted because of his race.
As of May 14th, 2025, the trial is still in its early days, and Cassie Ventura's testimony has been the most talked about part so far. Reporters in the courtroom say her testimony has been emotional and full of detail, and she stayed surprisingly calm while talking about some really painful things. The prosecutors are showing a picture of Diddy that has shocked the courtroom, especially with the graphic details about the so-called freak-offs and how degrading they were. Cassie, who is clearly pregnant during her testimony, was seen rubbing her belly the whole time while telling everything that happened. Her husband, Alex Fine, was also there supporting her in the courtroom. But Diddy's legal team said they might bring him in as a witness too, which could mean he won't be allowed to sit in the courtroom for future sessions.
Cassie began her story by explaining how they met. It all started when she signed with Bad Boy Records in 2006, when she was only 19 years old. She explained how it began as a work relationship, but later turned into something romantic, and how Diddy slowly began to take over all parts of her life. She said he started controlling everything, not just her music career, but also how she looked and even what she did each day. This control included her clothes, hair, nails, and where she could go or live. Since he had a big say in her career, she felt like she had no choice but to do what he wanted. Cassie said Diddy decided where she would live and made sure she stayed close by, either walking distance or a short drive from him. He paid for most of the places she lived in. If she didn't answer his calls or texts, he would send his security team to go find her.
A big part of Cassie's testimony was about what she called freak-offs. Sexual events that Diddy set up, which included multiple people, even male escorts. She said these things happened almost every week, and sometimes lasted for days. From a day and a half up to 4 days, sometimes with no sleep. She said she was forced to take part and couldn't say no, because Diddy had so much control over her, and threatened to leak videos if she refused. Cassie said Diddy was in charge of everything during these freak-offs. The lights, the actions, everything. She said she felt dirty, ashamed, and worthless, and that she would use drugs just to mentally check out from what was happening. The prosecutors showed a text message where, before one of the freak-offs, Cassie messaged Diddy, asking, "Which coloured pill do I take from your Louis Vuitton med bag?" And he told her exactly which pill to take.
Cassie also said that in the beginning, Diddy recorded these freak-offs on video cameras and later on other devices. He kept the videos and used them to threaten her when he was angry. She tried to delete the copies she had because they were too embarrassing, and asked him to delete his too. But she always feared that he would leak them. She also gave a lot of details about physical abuse. She said Diddy would push her, kick her, drag her, and stomp on her head when she was on the ground. She said she got black eyes and bruises from these beatings and couldn't even count how many times it happened. Many times, she said, she was too scared to fight back and would just freeze. One of the key moments she talked about was the 2016 fight at the Intercontinental Hotel in LA, the same one caught on the surveillance video shared by CNN.
Cassie said that before her first big movie premiere, she had been forced into a freak-off with Diddy and another escort, and that Diddy gave her a black eye. She tried to leave while Diddy was in the shower, but he caught her, which led to the incident caught on video. The prosecutors have shown that video several times during the trial as proof of the physical abuse they say was used to control Cassie. When someone asked her if she ever tried to fight back when Diddy hit her, Cassie simply said no. To support Cassie's story, other people have also testified. One of them is Israel Flores, an LAPD officer who worked as a security guard at the Intercontinental Hotel in 2016. He said he responded to that incident and described Diddy giving him a very scary, cold stare. He also said that money left behind at the scene looked like someone was trying to bribe him.
Another major witness was Daniel Phillip, a 41-year-old former male escort and manager of a strip show in Manhattan. He testified on May 12 and 13, 2025, and gave details about the freak-offs he saw. He said that from 2012 to 2014, Cassie paid him to have sex with her while Diddy watched or gave directions. He said he was paid between $700 and $6,000 for these encounters. He also said he saw Diddy physically abuse Cassie, throwing a glass bottle at her, dragging her by the hair, and hitting her. This backs up what the prosecutors are saying about abuse and control. He also described hearing slaps and Cassie screaming, I'm sorry," during one moment, showing she was scared and upset. During cross-examination, Diddy's lawyer, Xavier Donaldson, tried to make Philip's story seem less believable. They brought up his job, managing male strippers, and the details of how he first met Cassie, suggesting everything between them was agreed to.
But Philip didn't change his story. He stood by what he said and insisted that it was abuse and manipulation, not consent. Diddy's defense hasn't fully presented their side yet, since the trial is still early. But they've already started fighting back by questioning witnesses and their stories. Diddy's legal team gave their opening statements quickly, and to be honest, they weren't very strong. They basically said, yes, he got angry, he lost control, he might have used drugs. He might have been a bad boyfriend. They're arguing that the relationships were all agreed to, that it was just a swinger lifestyle, and nothing illegal happened. They want the court to see the domestic violence as separate from the bigger charges like trafficking and racketeering. They're warning that people will hear texts and recordings that make Diddy sound like a terrible person, maybe the worst kind of person when it comes to how he treated women. And Diddy admits to that.
But they say that doesn't mean he committed the crimes he's being charged with now. A key part of this trial is the long-term relationship between Diddy and Cassie. Their romance reportedly began in 2007, soon after Cassie signed with Bad Boy Records, and it lasted until 2018. During that time, Cassie's music career seemed to fade into the background as her relationship with Diddy took center stage. In a 2017 interview with Hot 97, when asked how her music was affected by people mostly knowing her as Diddy's girlfriend, Cassie admitted it was hard to deal with. She said it was tough because now people didn't always connect her with music anymore. After leaving Diddy, Cassie found happiness with Alex Fine, her personal trainer. They met in 2018, announced they were expecting a baby in June 2019, and got married in September 2019. They now have 2 daughters, Frankie, born in December 2019, and Sonny, born in March 2021.
After the 2016 hotel video came out in May 2024, Alex wrote an open letter speaking up for victims of abuse. He said, I want my kids and all kids to grow up in a world where women and girls are safe, respected, and treated equally. He added, men who hit women aren't real men, and the ones who help or protect them aren't real men either. As Cassie keeps revealing more in court, we expect to hear even more about her relationship with Diddy and the alleged abuse. The prosecutors are planning to bring in more witnesses, including other women referred to in court documents as Victim 2 and Victim 4. They might also call some of Cassie's friends to back up her story. One surprising part of the trial is that a witness known as Victim 3, who was supposed to testify, hasn't shown up yet. Because of this, the defense might ask for a mistrial or delay, which could change how the case moves forward.
Looking at the bigger picture right now, Sean Diddy Combs is in the middle of a serious legal storm. Besides this criminal trial, he's facing over 63 civil lawsuits from more than 100 people. These include claims of sexual assault, trafficking, drugging people, and abuse going back to 1991. Many of these lawsuits became possible because of New York's Gender Motivated Violence Act, which gave people a chance to file claims even if the time limit had passed. Because of that law, 10 new lawsuits were filed on February 28, 2025, adding to Diddy's legal problems. Among all these cases, Cassie Ventura's lawsuit stands out the most. She filed it on November 16, 2023, under New York's Adult Survivors Act, claiming years of abuse and forced sexual events called freak-offs during their relationship from 2007 to 2018. But the case was settled the very next day for an unknown amount of money, which raised a lot of questions about why it ended so fast.
Another major case was filed by music producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones Jr. in February 2024. He accused Diddy of harassment, physical abuse, and running a criminal group doing illegal things. Some of the charges, like RICO and emotional distress, got dropped, but the assault charges are still being fought in court. In December 2023, another woman filed a case saying she was sex trafficked by Diddy and his associate Harve Pierre back in 2003 when she was just 17. She said she was given drugs and alcohol and assaulted in a recording studio. Other lawsuits include one from Dawn Richard, a former member of Danity Kane, who said Diddy groped her and threatened her in 2024. There's also a case from Grace Marte in April 2024, claiming Diddy's son Christian Combs drugged and assaulted her on a yacht in 2022, and that Diddy was partly responsible because he created the unsafe environment.
The federal criminal charges against Diddy came in September 2024, after he was arrested in New York City. He was charged with racketeering conspiracy, meaning the government believes he ran a criminal operation that used threats, force, and abuse to control others since at least 2008. He also faces 2 counts of sex trafficking, accusing him of forcing people into freak-offs using drugs and threats, and 2 counts of transporting people across states to take part in prostitution. The indictment lists other crimes too, like forced labor, kidnapping, bribery, and trying to stop witnesses from speaking. Diddy pleaded not guilty to all charges. If he's convicted of the racketeering charge, he could get life in prison. The sex trafficking charges carry at least 15 years, and the prostitution-related charges can bring up to 10 years. The investigation picked up steam after Homeland Security raided Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami on March 25, 2024.
During the raids, they found guns and took phones as evidence. One of Diddy's close people, Brendan Paul, was arrested for having drugs. Right now, Diddy is being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, a jail known for being tough. His bail was denied twice because prosecutors say he's likely to run away. His lawyers tried to get him released by saying the jail conditions are horrible, but those requests were denied. To make things worse, Diddy is also accused of breaking jail rules by trying to contact people who might testify against him. Prosecutors say he tried to influence witnesses and stop them from telling the truth. The current trial is happening at the Daniel Patrick Moynihan Courthouse in Lower Manhattan. It's expected to last around 8 weeks. Diddy turned down a plea deal. He wants to fight the case and prove he's innocent. His main lawyer, Brian Steele, has been trying to make the witnesses look unreliable by pointing out things that don't match.
He's also saying that even if Diddy's behavior was wrong, it doesn't mean he committed crimes. More than the specific claims and courtroom battles, this case brings up bigger conversations about how power works in the entertainment world, especially how women and vulnerable people get treated. The accusations against Diddy are part of a larger trend where famous people are being called out more and more for bad behavior. Laws like New York's Adult Survivors Act and the Gender Motivated Violence Act have made it easier for people to speak up, even if their stories are from long ago. Because of these laws, a wave of new lawsuits have come forward, adding more pressure to Diddy's legal troubles. As the trial goes on, more witnesses are expected to speak, including other victims and people who might support their stories. The prosecutors. Part of the trial is supposed to last about 3 weeks. After that, the defense will have their turn, and that could take about 1 week.
The charges, especially racketeering, are complex and need a lot of proof to show that Diddy's actions were part of a bigger pattern of crime. That's why having multiple witnesses is a big part of the prosecutor's plan. The defense team, on the other hand, is focusing on making the witnesses look less trustworthy, and saying that while Diddy may have acted badly, what he did wasn't illegal. They're also trying to show a difference between things like domestic violence and the much bigger charges like trafficking and racketeering. One thing that might make things hard for the prosecutors is the missing testimony of victim 3, who was supposed to be a key witness but hasn't shown up. Because of this, the defense might ask the court to end the trial or delay it, which could change everything. But this case isn't just about the people directly involved. It's making people think about how society handles abuse, especially when it involves powerful men and the people around them.
In the past few years, the entertainment industry has started talking more openly about these problems. What happens in this trial could affect how similar cases are treated in the future. For survivors of abuse and domestic violence, these kinds of cases can feel both helpful and painful. On one hand, seeing powerful people face justice can make victims feel heard and more willing to speak out. On the other hand, the intense attention and hard questions victims face can make others afraid to tell their own stories. Mental health experts have said that the 2016 video and all the details in this case can be very triggering for survivors. That's why it's important for media and reporters to be careful and respectful when covering stories like this. One especially upsetting part of Cassie's story was about how Diddy allegedly used video recordings of the freak-offs to scare and control her.
She said he used those videos as a threat whenever he got upset, showing how technology can be used in abusive ways. This shows how some people in power might use things like recordings and blackmail to keep their control through fear. Another big issue that came up is the role of the people around Diddy, his staff, security, and others. Cassie's testimony suggests that many of them helped keep Diddy in control, even if they didn't directly abuse her. That raises hard questions about how responsible someone is if they stand by and let abuse happen. Prosecutors are saying this wasn't just about Diddy. They're calling it a whole criminal operation. They say many people helped make it possible for him to abuse and control others for years. What happens next? There are a few things that could change how this trial ends. The biggest factor will be whether the witnesses seem believable and if their stories stay consistent.
That's important because the defense is trying hard to say that some things don't add up. Also, the legal definitions of racketeering and trafficking are very specific. So, the prosecutors have to prove not just that Diddy did bad things, but that he committed serious federal crimes. Thanks for watching this full breakdown. If you like this video, click on one of the links on your screen to watch more like this. We're still putting the pieces together. Some of our sources are on the ground right now giving us updates. In fact, we're one of the first teams on the scene, along with about 30 law enforcement officials. Right now, you're seeing live footage from a mansion in Holmby Hills. It's all connected to Sean Diddy Combs. Diddy, Diddy, Diddy. Can't you see? Diddy is now at the center of a scandal as 2 of his homes were raided by Homeland Security. These raids, one in LA and one in Miami, are connected to the serious accusations of abuse and sexual assault against.
The Department of Homeland Security, working with local police, carried out these searches as part of an ongoing investigation. I'll tell you what the FBI has revealed so far about Diddy possibly being arrested. There were a lot of agents on site, drones flying overhead, and ladders being used to search every part of the properties. They're checking every single corner of these homes to understand exactly why Diddy is being investigated. Let's go back to the beginning. Late last year, singer and songwriter Cassie Ventura filed a lawsuit against Diddy, accusing him of abuse and sexual assault. The lawsuit shocked the whole entertainment industry as Cassie shared disturbing events that allegedly happened during their relationship. The claims were serious and made people start questioning who Diddy really was behind the fame. Cassie's lawsuit, filed in November 2023, revealed a dark side of Diddy that many didn't know.
She accused him of hitting her, emotionally abusing her, and even raping her. The details in the lawsuit were graphic and upsetting, showing a man who, according to her, used his power and influence to control others. The lawsuit didn't just make headlines. It opened the door for other people to come forward with their own claims against Diddy. The Me Too movement had already brought attention to how common abuse is in the entertainment world. And now Diddy's name was added to the list of men accused. As more accusations piled up, the Department of Homeland Security got involved. On a Monday, federal agents raided 2 of Diddy's homes, one in Los Angeles and one in Miami. These searches were part of the larger investigation into the abuse and trafficking claims. Details about the case are still not fully known, but sources say the raids are linked to a sex trafficking investigation.
This shocking update has left many people wondering just how deep this case goes and what else might come out. Diddy, once known for his big success in music and business, is now caught in a huge scandal that could destroy everything he built. These raids by Homeland Security sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry and left his fans stunned. R&B singer Cassie has accused music mogul Diddy of rape and 10 years of physical abuse. The 2 were in a relationship for years, but now Cassie says it was filled with control, drugs, and forced sex acts. She filed her lawsuit using New York's Adult Survivors Act, a law that gave victims 1 year to sue their abusers even if the time limit had passed. In the lawsuit, Cassie said she first met Diddy in 2005 when she was only 19 years old, and he was 37. What looked like a glamorous relationship at first quickly became a nightmare of abuse, violence, and sex trafficking.
She said Diddy took control of almost every part of her life. He managed her career, had control over her money, and even looked at her private medical records. But the worst part, according to Cassie, was the physical and sexual abuse. She claimed Diddy beat her several times a year. These beatings left her deeply traumatized and scared for her life. But it didn't stop there. Cassie also claimed Diddy forced her to have sex with male escorts in different cities while he watched, recorded it, and even pleasured himself during it. Her lawsuit also talked about a terrifying night in 2018. After a dinner, Diddy forced himself into her apartment, even though she begged him not to. She said she told him no and tried to push him away, but he ignored her and raped her. This horrible moment was the final straw for Cassie, and after that, she ended the relationship for good.
In her lawsuit, Cassie said there were people who saw the abuse. One of them was her friend, singer and songwriter Tiffany Red. Tiffany wrote an open letter to Diddy, describing a 2015 incident during Cassie's 29th birthday party. She said Diddy and his security team made Cassie leave the party to go sleep with other men. Tiffany also said that Cassie had opened up to her about Diddy hitting her, confirming what Cassie claimed. Diddy's lawyer, Benjamin Brafman, strongly denied all the claims, calling the lawsuit full of lies meant to ruin Diddy's name. He said the lawsuit was just a way to blackmail Diddy for money. But even with the denial, Diddy and Cassie settled the lawsuit just one day after it was filed. Nobody knows how much money was involved, and Brafman said the settlement didn't mean Diddy admitted to anything. Still, the accusations against Diddy kept coming as more women stepped forward with their stories.
One of them, Liza Gardner, said she and a friend met Diddy and singer Aaron Hall at an MCA Records event back in 1990 or 1991. They were invited to an after-party at Hall's apartment, where Gardner said she was forced to have sex with Diddy. She also said Diddy attacked her friend during that same night. Gardner said she was in shock. As she got dressed, she said Aaron Hall came into the room, held her down, and raped her too. A few days later, Diddy showed up at the house where Gardner and her friend lived, worried they might tell someone what happened. This second attack made things even worse for Gardner. Another woman, Joy Dickerson Neal, came forward with her own story. She said that in 1991, she went on a date with Diddy, even though she didn't really want to. After dinner, she said he drugged and raped her.
She also claimed he recorded it and later showed the video to other people, violating her privacy. Neal didn't go to the police right away, but she later filed a report in New York and New Jersey. She said the prosecutors told her they needed witnesses to back up her story. But Neal believes those witnesses were too scared of Diddy's power to speak up, afraid they'd lose their careers in music or face threats. Diddy's spokesperson said the stories from Gardner and Neal were made up, accusing them of using the Adult Survivors Act just to get money. Still, their voices add to the growing group of women accusing Diddy of terrible behavior. They all tell similar stories about a man who used his fame and power to hurt and control people. It's important to remember that these cases are still being looked at, and Diddy has denied all the accusations.
In a statement, he said, "I've been silent while people try to destroy my name, my legacy, and my family. Let me be clear. I didn't do the horrible things they're saying. I'll fight for the truth." The allegations against Diddy took an even darker turn when a fourth lawsuit was filed by a woman who chose to stay anonymous, using the name Jane Doe. Her claims against Diddy and his longtime associate, Harve Pierre, describe horrifying abuse and exploitation. In this part, we'll go into what Jane Doe's lawsuit says and how serious her accusations are. According to her lawsuit, Jane Doe says that in 2003, when she was just 17, Diddy, Harve Pierre, and a third man whose name isn't known gang raped her at a recording studio in Manhattan. The lawsuit says these men took her from Detroit to New York City on a private jet where the assault happened. Jane Doe also says the men gave her drugs and alcohol until she couldn't say no.
Even though she begged them to stop, they attacked her violently. Her lawsuit includes several photos from that night, including one where she's sitting on Diddy's lap. She says this photo was taken at the studio and backs up her story. These claims are extremely serious and raise tough questions about how powerful people might take advantage of young and vulnerable women. The lawsuit paints a terrifying picture of a teenager being trapped and harmed by men who had control and fame. It's also important to note that Harve Pierre, who worked closely with Diddy for years, has also been accused of sexual assault. One of his former assistants sued him, saying he used his position of power to groom her and sexually abuse her many times between 2016 and 2017. This makes the accusations against Diddy and his inner circle even more troubling. Gay allegation. Now, Diddy is also facing another lawsuit about sexual assault and harassment. This time from music producer Rodney Jones Jr.
Jones says that while they were working together on an album, Diddy made unwanted sexual moves toward him. Just a month ago, Rodney Lil Rod Jones filed a $30 million lawsuit against Diddy, adding to the long list of people accusing him. In the lawsuit, Jones says that while living with Diddy and working on the Love album in 2023, Diddy treated him badly in many ways. These claims include Diddy touching him in private areas, pressuring him into sexual acts, and throwing parties where underage girls were given drugs. Jones also says Diddy showed off guns, talked about shooting people, and used his fame and powerful connections to scare people. The 70-page lawsuit gives disturbing details and shows a pattern of abusive and criminal behavior behind closed doors. According to Jones, Diddy fondled him and pressured him into different sexual acts. He also said Diddy held parties where there were underage girls and drugs, raising serious concerns for their safety.
But not everything in the lawsuit has held up without questions. Adult film star D'Angelo Knockout Marquis said some of the video stills used in the lawsuit, which were supposed to be of producer Stevie J, are actually from one of his own scenes. This has made some people question whether all the evidence in Jones's lawsuit is real. Another part of the lawsuit says that Diddy forced Jones to cover up a shooting that happened inside a bathroom at Chalice Studios in LA. But TMZ reported that the shooting happened outside the studio and 2 people were arrested for it. This difference in stories makes people question how accurate Jones's version is. The lawsuit also shows pictures of Diddy with girls who were claimed to be underage at a party. But 2 women in those pictures have come forward, saying they are the ones in the photos, and that they were adults at the time. This raises more questions about whether some of the evidence has been used in the wrong way.
Diddy's lawyer, Sean Hawley, strongly denied everything, calling Jones a liar who just wants money. Hawley said there's a lot of proof that shows Jones's story is completely false. Now, it's up to the courts to decide whether the claims and the evidence are real or not. Even though some parts of the lawsuit are being questioned, that doesn't mean the rest of the claims should be ignored. The stories of sexual assault, abuse, and illegal activity are very serious and must be looked at carefully. The reaction to these claims has shown something else very worrying: a rise in homophobic comments from the public. While the focus should be on the sexual abuse and violence claims, some people have paid more attention to details that aren't even important. In the lawsuit, Rodney Lil Rod Jones claimed that Diddy told him he had sexual encounters with Meek Mill and Usher. These hints were mentioned in the footnotes of the court papers.
But instead of focusing on the real crimes Diddy is being accused of, some people made the Meek Mill part the main headline. This shows that homophobia is still strong in society. When Meek Mill denied the gay rumors, he got hit with lots of hateful homophobic messages. This shows that people are still very uncomfortable about LGBTQ+ topics, even when a serious case of abuse is being discussed. Instead of caring about what crimes might have happened, many people are still focused on whether someone might be gay. This kind of reaction is dangerous. It takes the attention away from the victims and the abuse and keeps old harmful stereotypes alive. It also makes it harder for people to come forward. If a victim is scared they'll be called gay or shamed for speaking up, they might stay quiet, and the abuse continues. That's why it's so important to focus on the real issue, the crimes being investigated. And to support survivors.
The claims against Diddy are serious and need full investigation and justice. By keeping the focus on the abuse and not on side gossip, we create a safer space for victims to speak and be heard. Diddy's history of violence. What do you think about all these lawsuits accusing Diddy of abuse? Do you think he's capable of doing all this? People who know him say yes. They believe this is who he really is. That kind of behavior comes with power, with arrogance, and with the kind of control Diddy always had. At the start of his music career, Sean Diddy Combs was just a radio intern trying to break into the industry. He had no idea that his future would be filled with controversies and stories of violence, following him as he became famous. One of the earliest and most tragic events connected to Diddy happened during a celebrity basketball game he co-hosted. It took place at the City College of New York's gym and was meant to be a fun event.
But things turned deadly when the crowd rushed the exits, causing a stampede that killed 9 people. One person said they nearly passed out on the staircase because of the heat and panic. When the doors shut, they knew something terrible was happening. Diddy later said the City College incident was deeply painful for him. He was there on the floor, watching people take their final breaths. The tragedy shocked the music world and the public. Mayor David Dinkins blamed Diddy and the organizers for allowing people without enough experience to run the event. They also sold way too many tickets, which added to the chaos. Even though it may not have been all Diddy's fault, the event made people wonder about his decisions and if he cared more about success than people's safety. Despite the criticism, Diddy's career didn't slow down. After working at Uptown Records, he started his own label, Bad Boy Records. In 1993,
this was where Diddy became a major name in hip-hop. His first big success came with Notorious B.I.G.'s debut album, Ready to Die. That album made both Biggie and Diddy famous and powerful in the music scene. Diddy also helped launch the careers of artists like Foxy Brown, Faith Evans, and Mary J. Blige. This helped him build a strong reputation as someone who could spot and develop talent. But it was Diddy's role in the East Coast versus West Coast rap war that really put him in the spotlight. This feud involved Death Row Records, Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur on the West Coast, and Diddy and Biggie on the East Coast. The rivalry grabbed the world's attention, showing the dangerous and sometimes deadly side of 90s hip-hop. Tragically, both Biggie and Tupac were killed in separate shootings, and their deaths shook the entire music industry. Diddy was never charged in either case. People still talk about whether he had any connection.
Rumors and conspiracy theories have never stopped. The violent feud showed the dark side of fame and the serious risks of beef in the rap world. Even if Diddy wasn't involved in the murders, his name being linked to all this raised questions about the culture around him and his role in it. As Diddy's fame grew, he faced more scandals. One major incident came from the music video for the song Hate Me Now featuring Nas. In the video, both Nas and Diddy were shown being crucified, which Diddy thought was offensive and asked to be taken out. But the version with the crucifixion was aired anyway, and Diddy got furious. He reacted by attacking the head of Interscope Records, using a chair, a phone, and even a champagne bottle. Because of that attack, Diddy had to plead guilty to a lesser charge and go to anger management.
This violent reaction added to the growing image of Diddy as someone with serious anger issues. But things didn't stop there. In a shocking case, Diddy and then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez were caught up in a nightclub shooting in New York. After a fight, 3 people were shot, and both Diddy and Lopez were arrested for battery and having a gun. Jennifer Lopez's charges were later dropped, but Diddy had to go on trial. He claimed the justice system was trying to make an example out of him for being a powerful black man. Eventually, Diddy was found not guilty, but the whole incident damaged his image and made people wonder about the kind of crowd he was involved with. One person most affected by the shooting was rapper Shyne, one of Diddy's artists. Shyne was also at the nightclub and ended up being charged too. He went to prison for 9 years for assault and gun possession. Afterward, Shyne said Diddy betrayed him and let him take the fall.
This incident reminded everyone how fame, violence, and power can come with major consequences. It also showed the difference in how the justice system treated Diddy compared to Shyne. While Diddy walked free, Shyne lost nearly a decade of his life behind bars. The long list of violent incidents linked to Diddy can't be ignored. From the deadly stampede at the basketball game to his role in the East Coast-West Coast rap feud. The attack over the Hate Me Now video. The car explosion and the nightclub shooting, the pattern is clear. These events paint a picture of someone who's managed to succeed in music while leaving a trail of controversy and aggression. The nightclub shooting had a lasting impact on how the public saw Diddy. Even though he continued to do well in music, his image took a hit. It was a clear warning of what can happen when violence and power mix. And it didn't stop there.
Cassie later shared another disturbing event in her lawsuit. Diddy allegedly blew up a man's car just because that man liked her romantically. This was a terrifying act meant to scare and control. According to the New York Times, rapper Kid Cudi, who was dating Cassie at the time, confirmed that it was his car that exploded in his driveway. He said, "This is all true." This level of extreme violence shows just how far Diddy might go to stay in control and keep people afraid. And this wasn't the only time Diddy and Kid Cudi clashed. Back in 2012, rumors came out about a physical fight between them in a nightclub. While not many details are confirmed, it adds to the long list of conflicts that seem to follow Diddy. These incidents make people question how Diddy deals with conflict, and if he's someone who chooses violence instead of peace.
The car explosion and the rumored fight with Kid Cudi show a pattern of extreme behavior, especially when someone close to Diddy is involved. What's important to understand is these aren't random events. They're part of a larger history. They show a man who has kept a polished public image. But behind the scenes, there's another story. One filled with fear, threats, and control. In this chaotic history of violence, we come back again to the nightclub shooting with Jennifer Lopez. This one incident affected so many lives and added yet another dark chapter to Diddy's story. That night started off like a regular party for Diddy and Lopez in New York City. But a heated argument turned violent, ending with 3 people getting shot. Diddy and Lopez were both arrested for battery and gun charges. Though Jennifer's charges were dropped, Diddy had to face trial. He claimed he was being unfairly targeted as a successful black man.
The case became a huge media story, mixing issues of race, fame, and the justice system. In the end, Diddy was cleared of the charges, but the damage to his image was already done. People still had questions about what really happened that night, and whether Diddy was as innocent as the court said. One person who really suffered from that night was Shine, Diddy's young protege. Shine was also charged and ended up going to prison for 9 years. He later said Diddy abandoned him and left him to take the blame. This made a lot of people wonder if Diddy had thrown someone under the bus to protect himself. The whole thing was a wake-up call about how dangerous life around Diddy could be, especially for those who trusted him. It also showed how unfair the system can be. Diddy, the superstar, walked away. Shine, the newcomer, went to jail for almost a decade. All the past violence and scandals around Diddy show us something troubling.
Even though he's built a huge career and gained tons of fame, the chaos and pain he may have caused along the way can't be ignored. The stories go back decades, and yet the pattern feels very much the same. The fallout from the nightclub shooting changed how many people saw Diddy, and it marked a turning point in how his public image was shaped. Yes, he kept making music and money, but the shadows followed him. This incident, and so many others, remind us of what can happen when fame, power, and violence are all mixed together. That's the end of this deep dive. If you want to see more content like this, click on the cards on your screen. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned as this case continues to unfold.